Why You Are Still Struggling with Your Mindset and How to Fix It by Audible Insights. Introduction. You've been told that mindset is everything, that if you just think differently, your life will change. You've tried. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, written down affirmations, forced yourself to think positively, and yet you're still stuck. You still find yourself overthinking decisions, battling self-doubt, procrastinating when you know what needs to be done. Maybe you keep slipping back into old patterns, even after moments of motivation. And worst of all, you may have started to wonder if something is fundamentally wrong with you, if you're just wired this way. If no matter what you do, you'll always struggle. That thought is the real trap. This book is not here to tell you to try harder. It's not here to push another list of habits, routines, or productivity hacks that promise results, but never truly change anything. It's here to expose the invisible chains that have been holding you back, the deeply ingrained mental frameworks that keep you stuck in cycles of frustration, fear, and self-sabotage. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to fix yourself. What you need is to understand why your mind has been working against you and how to dismantle the patterns that have been controlling your life. This journey isn't about temporary fixes. It's about breaking free from the outdated mental scripts that have shaped your identity and stepping into a completely new way of thinking, one that makes success, clarity, and confidence inevitable. If you're ready to stop struggling with your own mind, if you're ready to see what's really been keeping you stuck, then let's begin. Chapter 1. The hidden war in your mind. You wake up with a plan. Today is the day you finally get things in order. You've set your goals, promised yourself you'll follow through, and maybe even feel a surge of motivation. But hours pass, and somehow you find yourself back in the same old patterns. Distractions, hesitation, a creeping sense of self-doubt. You wonder why it always feels like an uphill battle, why something as simple as doing what you know you need to do feels impossible. This isn't just laziness or lack of discipline. What you're experiencing is an internal war, a battle between two opposing forces inside you. One part of you wants to grow, evolve, and finally break free from old limitations. But another part of you, one that operates just below the surface, is working just as hard to keep you exactly where you are. And the most frustrating part, you don't even realize it's happening. Why you keep holding yourself back. Your struggles with mindset aren't random. They aren't a flaw in your character or a sign that you lack willpower. They exist because your brain is designed to resist change. No matter how badly you want to grow, your mind will always try to pull you back into what is familiar, because to your subconscious, familiar equals safe. Right now, you have a deeply ingrained mental framework that dictates what you believe is possible for yourself. This framework has been built over years of experiences, social conditioning, and subconscious programming. And unless you actively change it, it will continue to keep you locked in the same patterns, making you feel like you're constantly fighting against yourself. The war in your mind is real, and it plays out in ways that are so subtle, you barely notice it happening. Every time you hesitate to take action, every time you feel an inexplicable pull to procrastinate, every time you find yourself falling back into old habits, you're experiencing this internal conflict firsthand. Breaking free from the mental tug-of-war. If you want to stop struggling with your mindset, the first step is recognizing that the resistance you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that your subconscious is clinging to what it knows. And that means something critical. The more resistance you feel, the more important the change you're trying to make. So how do you overcome this internal war? How do you break free from the invisible grip of your own mind? Start noticing the resistance. Pay attention to the moments when you feel yourself pulling back from growth. That hesitation before sending the email, the urge to check your phone instead of focusing, the sudden fatigue when you sit down to work. These aren't random. They are signals that your subconscious is trying to keep you in your comfort zone, detached from the struggle. Most people take resistance as a sign that they're not ready or that something is wrong. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a reflex. You don't have to fight it. You just have to stop letting it control you. The moment you can observe the resistance without obeying it, you weaken its power. Rewire the pattern. Your mind follows what you reinforce. Every time you push through resistance, even in small ways, you are training your brain to accept change. The key is consistency. The first time you break the cycle, it will feel uncomfortable. The second time, slightly less so. And eventually, what once felt impossible becomes automatic. Moving forward, this hidden war in your mind is the reason you've struggled for so long. But now you can see it for what it is. And once you recognize the enemy, you are no longer under its control. The shift starts here. From this point forward, every time you feel yourself hesitating, overthinking, or slipping into old habits, remind yourself, this is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that I am stepping into something greater. Now that you understand the battle, it's time to go deeper. Because this war isn't just about discipline or habits, it's about the very way you see yourself. And that's what we're going to dismantle next. Chapter 2. The illusion of self-improvement. You tell yourself you're making progress. You've been reading the right books, listening to the right podcasts, and trying to apply what you've learned. You write down your goals, you visualize success, and you tell yourself you're changing. But if you're honest with yourself, deep down, something feels off. You're busy, but are you truly moving forward? You're consuming knowledge, but are you seeing real transformation? If mindset is the key to success, then why do you still feel stuck? The truth is, most self-improvement is an illusion. It makes you feel like you're changing, but in reality, you're running in circles, stuck in a cycle of learning without ever becoming. Why consuming knowledge isn't enough. Your brain rewards you for consuming self-improvement content. Every time you finish a book, complete a course, or listen to a motivational talk, you get a small rush of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. It feels good. It makes you feel like you're making progress. But real change doesn't happen in your mind. It happens in your actions. Most people fall into the trap of mistaking understanding for transformation. They assume that because they know something, they have changed. But nothing shifts until you live it. Reading about discipline won't make you disciplined. Understanding confidence won't make you confident. Learning about success won't make you successful. So ask yourself, have you been doing the work, or have you just been thinking about it? The trap of fixing yourself. Another reason self-improvement keeps you stuck is that it often comes from a place of self-rejection. You feel like you need to improve because, deep down, you believe you're not enough as you are. You chase growth, not because you truly love evolving, but because you're trying to fix yourself. This creates a dangerous cycle. No matter how much progress you make, you'll never feel satisfied. Because the underlying belief that you are not enough hasn't changed. When you approach self-improvement from a place of lack, you reinforce the idea that you are incomplete. That's why so many people keep chasing book after book, seminar after seminar, always seeking the next breakthrough, but never actually arriving. Because deep down, they don't believe they ever will. Shifting from self-improvement to self-transformation. So how do you escape this cycle? How do you stop working on yourself and start becoming the person you want to be? Stop treating growth as a task. You don't fix yourself into a new mindset. You live your way into it. Instead of endlessly preparing to be confident, act with confidence. Instead of waiting until you feel ready to take action now. You don't need more preparation, you need more experience. Let go of the need to feel different. Real change doesn't always feel dramatic. Often it's subtle. You may not feel like you're growing in the moment, but growth happens in the actions you take despite doubt, despite fear, despite hesitation. Trust that the process is working, even when you can't see it yet. Recognize that you are already enough. Self-improvement should come from expansion, not lack. Instead of growing because you think something is missing, grow because you love who you are becoming. When you stop trying to fix yourself and start embracing your potential, change becomes effortless. Moving forward, self-improvement isn't about consuming more knowledge. It's about embodying what you already know. You don't need another book to tell you what to do. You don't need another course to prepare you. You are ready now. The illusion of self-improvement has kept you running in circles. But now you see the truth. It's time to break free from the endless search for the next breakthrough and start living the transformation. Because what's keeping you stuck isn't what you don't know. It's what you refuse to act on. And that's what we're going to uncover next. Chapter 3. The comfort of struggle. You say you want change. You set goals, make plans, and tell yourself that you're ready to break free from the patterns that have held you back. But if that were true, why does it feel so hard to actually follow through? Why do you keep slipping back into old habits? Why do you find yourself unconsciously repeating the same cycles, no matter how badly you want things to be different? Because struggle, despite how much you claim to hate it, has become your comfort zone. Why part of you doesn't want to change? It sounds absurd at first. Why would you cling to struggle? Why would you hold on to thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs that make you miserable? The answer is simple. Struggle is familiar. And to your subconscious, familiar equals safe. No matter how much you consciously desire growth, there is a deeper part of you that resists it. Because growth means stepping into the unknown. And to the part of your mind that is wired for survival, the unknown is terrifying. Think about it. If you've spent years struggling with self-doubt, anxiety, procrastination, or negative self-talk, then these experiences have become part of your identity. They feel like home. Even if they cause you pain, they are predictable. Your mind has learned to navigate struggle. It has built systems to cope with it. And because of that, struggle starts to feel like a part of who you are. So when you try to change, when you attempt to break free from struggle, your mind resists. Not because it wants to sabotage you, but because, in a twisted way, struggle feels safe. How you unknowingly sabotage yourself. Have you ever noticed that every time things start going well, something inside you panics? Maybe you finally make progress, only to suddenly lose momentum. Maybe you start feeling confident, only for old insecurities to creep back in. Maybe you reach a breakthrough, only to find yourself slipping back into old habits days later. This isn't random. This is your subconscious trying to restore balance, to bring you back to the level of struggle you're used to. Because deep down, you don't trust success. You don't trust happiness. You don't trust ease. The moment things start feeling too good, your subconscious sounds the alarm. It tells you that something is wrong, that you're stepping into dangerous, unfamiliar territory. So you pull back. You create distractions. You sabotage your own progress without even realizing why. Releasing the need for struggle. If you want to break free, you must be willing to let go of the identity that is attached to struggle. Stop glorifying hardship. Somewhere along the way, you learn that struggle means you're working hard, that suffering equals progress. That if something isn't difficult, it must not be meaningful. This is a lie. Growth does not have to be painful. Success does not have to come with exhaustion. You are allowed to let things be easy. Redefine what feels safe. Your mind clings to struggle because it's familiar. To change, you must teach it that ease, success, and happiness are also safe. This means intentionally sitting with positive emotions instead of rejecting them. It means allowing yourself to enjoy progress without looking for reasons why it might fall apart. Catch yourself in the act. The next time you notice yourself pulling back from success, recognize what's happening. Ask yourself, am I sabotaging myself right now because I'm afraid of things actually working out? Awareness is the first step to breaking the cycle. Moving forward, the comfort of struggle is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. It's not that you can't change, it's that deep down you haven't truly allowed yourself to. But now you see it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The next time you feel yourself hesitating, pulling back, or creating unnecessary difficulties, remind yourself, this is not who I am. I am not defined by struggle. I am stepping into something greater. Because real transformation doesn't come from forcing yourself to struggle harder. It comes from realizing that you never needed to struggle in the first place. And that's what we're going to build on next. Chapter 4. The identity cage you believe you want to change. You tell yourself that you're ready for something new, that you want to think differently, act differently, and finally break free from the limitations that have held you back. But here's the truth. You will never change your mindset until you change the way you see yourself. Most people don't realize that the biggest thing keeping them stuck isn't their habits, their circumstances, or even their past. It's their identity, the invisible, deeply ingrained idea of who they believe they are. And until you break free from the identity that keeps you locked in place, no amount of motivation, discipline, or self-improvement will make a difference. The hidden chains of self-identity right now, you have a mental blueprint of who you are. This blueprint dictates everything, how you think, how you behave, what you believe is possible for you. If you see yourself as someone who is always anxious, you will continue to struggle with anxiety. If you see yourself as someone who procrastinates, you will keep procrastinating. If you see yourself as someone who just isn't confident, you will always feel like an imposter in your own life. Even if you try to adopt new habits or push yourself to do better, your subconscious mind will pull you back to what feels familiar. Because your brain is not wired for success. It is wired for consistency. And as long as you see yourself as the same person, you will continue to act in the same way. Why you keep repeating old patterns? Have you ever tried to change something about yourself, only to feel like you're being pulled back to the way things were before? You start working out consistently, only to suddenly lose motivation. You begin speaking up for yourself, only to fall back into people-pleasing. You finally feel confident, only to wake up the next day doubting yourself again. This isn't just a failure of willpower. This is identity recoil. Your subconscious mind is deeply attached to the person you've always been. And any time you start acting out of character, even if it's for your own good, your brain will panic and try to restore balance. This is why real transformation isn't about forcing new behaviors. It's about changing the way you see yourself at the deepest level. How to escape the identity cage. If you want to stop struggling with your mindset, you must break free from the outdated identity that has been keeping you stuck. Stop saying, "That's just who I am." The biggest trap of identity is assuming that your current traits, behaviors, and thought patterns are permanent. They aren't. Every belief you hold about yourself was learned, and anything that was learned can be unlearned. Adopt a new mental blueprint. If you want to change, you must decide who you are becoming before you see any proof of it. This means shifting your internal narrative. Instead of saying, "I'm just not a disciplined person," say, "I am someone who follows through." Instead of saying, "I always overthink," say, "I trust my decisions." Your mind will fight it at first, but repetition rewires your self-image. Act as if, but with intention. This isn't about faking confidence or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about taking small, deliberate actions as the person you are becoming. If you were already disciplined, what would you do today? If you already believed in yourself, how would you handle this situation? Start acting in alignment with your future self now. Moving forward, your biggest limitation isn't your environment, your habits, or even your mindset. It's the invisible identity that has been shaping your thoughts and actions without you realizing it. But now, you have a choice. You can continue living inside the identity cage, repeating the same patterns and wondering why things never change. Or you can step into the version of yourself that is already waiting, the one who thinks, acts, and lives differently. Because you don't become a new person by hoping for change. You become a new person by deciding that you already are. And that's exactly what we're going to build on next. Chapter 5. The myth of motivation. You've waited for the spark. The moment when everything clicks, when you finally feel ready. You've told yourself that once you're motivated enough, once you're inspired enough, you'll take action. But that moment never comes. Or maybe it does. But it fades just as quickly as it appeared. One day, you're energized and unstoppable. The next, you're exhausted, doubting yourself and falling back into old habits. You wonder why motivation feels so unreliable, why you can't seem to stay consistent. The reason: motivation is a myth. Why waiting for motivation is keeping you stuck. Most people think that motivation is the fuel for action. They believe that once they feel ready, once the right circumstances align, then they'll finally be able to do what needs to be done. But motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. Think about the last time you truly felt motivated. What happened before that feeling? Chances are you weren't just sitting around waiting for inspiration to strike. You did something. You took a small step, and that step created momentum. Yet most people wait. They sit around hoping for a surge of inspiration, convincing themselves that they just need to feel more driven before they start. But motivation doesn't work that way. It doesn't appear first. It follows action. The real reason you struggle with consistency: have you ever noticed that the hardest part of doing something is just starting? Once you begin, things start to flow. Once you take the first step, the next one feels easier. But before that, you're stuck in your head, overthinking, waiting for the right moment. This is because your mind is wired to resist anything unfamiliar. It's not that you're unmotivated. It's that your brain is trying to conserve energy by avoiding effort. And the longer you wait, the stronger that resistance becomes. Which is why the secret to overcoming this isn't more motivation. It's understanding that motivation is irrelevant. What matters is mastering the ability to take action without feeling like it. How to take action without motivation. If you want to break free from the cycle of waiting, you must train yourself to move before you feel ready. Here's how. Lower the activation energy. The hardest part of any task is the first step, so make it so small that it feels impossible to resist. Instead of saying, "I need to work out for an hour," say, "I just need to put on my gym clothes." Instead of saying, "I have to write a full report," say, "I'll write one sentence." Once you start, momentum kicks in. Detach from the feeling. Stop asking yourself, "Do I feel like doing this?" Instead, ask yourself, "What would my future self want me to do right now?" Your emotions are unreliable, but your actions don't have to be. Learn to move even when you don't feel like it. Use the 5-second rule. The moment you catch yourself hesitating, count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then move. The longer you wait, the more excuses your brain will create. Interrupt the hesitation and act before your mind talks you out of it. Moving forward. Motivation is not the key to consistency. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to wait for inspiration. You just need to move. Because the truth is, motivation is not a requirement for action. Action is the cure for a lack of motivation. And once you master this, you'll never need to rely on fleeting bursts of inspiration again. Because the version of you who doesn't wait for motivation, that's the version who actually changes. And that's the version we're building next. Chapter 6. The unseen power of belief loops. You've been trapped inside invisible patterns of thinking that dictate how you see yourself, how you act, and what you believe is possible. These patterns are not random. They are self-reinforcing loops, mental programs running on autopilot, shaping your reality without you even realizing it. And until you break these loops, You will continue living the same experiences over and over again, no matter how hard you try to change. The cycle that controls your life, every action you take or don't take, is fueled by a belief. If you believe you are someone who struggles with self-discipline, you will act accordingly. You'll procrastinate, make excuses, and reinforce the idea that you just aren't disciplined. If you believe you are unworthy of success, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself when opportunities arise. You'll hesitate, hold back, and make choices that keep you exactly where you are. And here's the kicker. Each time you act according to a belief, you strengthen it. This is a belief loop. You hold a belief about yourself. I always struggle with consistency. That belief shapes your actions. You avoid difficult tasks, delay commitments, or start and stop projects. Your actions reinforce the belief. Each failure or inconsistency becomes proof that you are the type of person who struggles. The cycle repeats. Over time, these loops become stronger. They turn into your default way of thinking, making it feel impossible to break free. Why you keep experiencing the same struggles? The biggest problem with belief loops is that they make your struggles feel like facts. You don't just think, I struggle with confidence. You start believing, I am not a confident person. You don't just think, I have trouble staying focused. You start believing, I am someone who can't concentrate. And the more you repeat these thoughts, the more they solidify into your identity. Your brain stops questioning them. It stops looking for new possibilities. Instead, it seeks out proof that your belief is true. This is why people get stuck. Not because change is impossible, but because they keep reinforcing the very beliefs that are keeping them trapped. How to break the cycle? If you want to change your mindset, you must break the belief loops that are controlling your life. Interrupt the pattern. The next time you catch yourself thinking a limiting belief, I'm not good at this, I always give up, I'll never be successful, stop. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this a fact, or is this just a belief I've reinforced over time? Recognizing the pattern is the first step to dismantling it. Rewire the loop. Instead of reinforcing old beliefs, start creating new ones. If you always tell yourself, I struggle with discipline, replace it with, I am learning to follow through. If you think, I'm not confident, shift to, I am building confidence every day. Even if it doesn't feel true yet, repetition rewires your brain. Prove it to yourself. Your mind believes what it sees evidence for, so start small. Do one thing today that aligns with the new belief. If you want to believe you're disciplined, complete one task you've been avoiding. If you want to believe you're confident, speak up in one situation. Each small action weakens the old belief loop and strengthens the new one. Moving forward, your reality is not fixed. It is created by the loops running in your mind. And now that you see them, you no longer have to live by them. The version of you who struggles, that's just a belief loop you've repeated for years. But the version of you who thrives, that's a belief loop you can start creating right now. And that's what we're going to reinforce next. Chapter 7. The prison of perception. You think you see the world as it is. You believe that your struggles, your limitations, and your experiences are based on reality. But they aren't. You don't see reality. You see a version of reality, one shaped entirely by your perception. And if your perception is limiting you, then your reality will feel limited too. How perception becomes your reality. Two people can experience the exact same situation, but interpret it in completely different ways. One person gets rejected from a job and thinks, I must not be good enough. I'll never succeed. Another person gets rejected from a job and thinks, that wasn't the right fit for me. I'll find something better. One person makes a mistake and tells themselves, I'm a failure. I'll never get this right. Another person makes the same mistake and tells themselves, this is part of the process. I'm learning. Same situation, different perception. And that perception determines everything, how they feel, how they act, and ultimately, what kind of life they create. The invisible filters controlling your mind. Your brain doesn't process the world objectively. It filters everything through your past experiences, fears, beliefs, and subconscious conditioning. This means that right now, you aren't experiencing life as it is. You are experiencing it through a distorted filter, one that is shaping how you think, what you believe, and what you consider possible for yourself. And if that filter is filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, then no matter how much you try to change your mindset, you will always see the world in a way that reinforces those beliefs, which means the problem isn't your life. It's the lens through which you're looking at it. How to change the way you see everything. If you want to transform your mindset, you must learn to shift your perception. Challenge your default reactions. The next time you feel discouraged, frustrated, or stuck, pause and ask yourself, is this the only way to see this situation? Could this setback be an opportunity? Could this failure be a lesson? Could this challenge be making you stronger? The moment you consider a different perspective, you weaken the old one. Reframe the narrative. Your brain will always look for proof of what you already believe. So start giving it new things to focus on. Instead of reinforcing, "I'm not good at this," start reinforcing, "I'm getting better every day." Instead of "nothing ever works out for me," shift to "everything is happening for me, even if I can't see it yet." Train yourself to see possibilities. Your perception is like a muscle. The more you practice shifting it, the easier it becomes. Make it a habit to find a new perspective in every situation. If something seems like a dead end, ask yourself, what else could be true? What am I not seeing? What could this experience be teaching me? Moving forward, your reality is not fixed. It is a reflection of the way you choose to see it. And if you change the way you see yourself, your challenges, and your potential, then your entire life will change with it. The prison of perception has kept you stuck for too long. But now, the door is open, and as you step through it, you will begin to see something you never noticed before. The world was never against you. It was only waiting for you to see it differently. And that's exactly what we're going to deepen next. Chapter 8. The fear of letting go. You say you want to change. You want to move forward, break old habits, and step into the next version of yourself. So why do you keep holding on to the things that are holding you back? Why do you cling to old ways of thinking, even when they make you miserable? Why does the idea of letting go, of truly releasing your fears, your limitations, and your past, feel so terrifying? Because as much as you say you want change, deep down, you are afraid of who you will be without the struggle you've always known. Why you hold on to what hurts you. Most people don't realize this, but we form deep emotional attachments to our struggles. If you've spent years battling self-doubt, then doubt has become part of your identity. If you've always played small, then stepping into confidence feels unnatural. If you've built your life around struggle, then ease feels wrong. Letting go of these things, even if they are painful, means stepping into unfamiliar territory. And to your subconscious, the unknown is always scarier than the pain you already understand. This is why people stay stuck. Not because they can't change, but because they are unconsciously holding on to the very things they claim to want to leave behind. Because without them, who would they be? The hidden comfort in your struggles, you may not realize it, but the patterns that keep you stuck are also giving you something in return. Your fear protects you from failure. Your self-doubt keeps you from taking risks. Your struggles allow you to avoid responsibility. Even pain, frustration, and struggle serve a purpose. They give you a role to play. They create a sense of identity. They keep you in the familiar. And until you recognize this, you will keep holding on, because letting go doesn't just mean losing the struggle. It means losing the version of yourself who has always carried it. How to finally let go. If you want to break free, you must learn to release what no longer serves you. Recognize what you're clinging to. Ask yourself, what am I afraid to let go of? Maybe it's an old belief, a past mistake, or a story you keep telling yourself about who you are. Identify it, name it, bring it into the light, understand the fear behind it. Ask yourself, what do I think will happen if I truly let this go? If you stop doubting yourself, who will you be? If you stop struggling, what will your life look like? Often, what we fear isn't the loss itself. It's the unknown that follows. Give yourself permission to move forward. Letting go isn't about rejecting your past. It's about deciding that you no longer need to carry it. Whatever happened before, whatever beliefs you've held, none of it has to define you anymore. You are allowed to step into something new. Moving forward, letting go is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is choosing to free yourself from the weight of what no longer serves you. Because real change doesn't come from adding more things to your life. It comes from releasing what has been holding you back all along. And as you begin to let go, you will find something powerful waiting for you, freedom. And that's exactly what we're going to expand on next. Chapter 9. The addictive nature of negative thinking. You don't want to keep thinking the way you do. You don't want to spiral into doubt, overanalyze every decision, or get stuck replaying past mistakes. But you do, over and over again. Even when you try to shift your mindset, even when you tell yourself to think more positively, you find yourself slipping back into old mental loops. Why? Because negativity isn't just a habit, it's an addiction. Why your brain clings to negative thoughts? Your brain is wired for survival, not happiness. And survival means being constantly on the lookout for threats, problems, and worst-case scenarios. This is why negative thinking feels automatic. Your mind is designed to focus on what could go wrong because, in ancient times, that's what kept humans alive. The ones who were hyper-aware of danger were the ones who survived. The problem: you are no longer running from wild animals or life-threatening situations. But your brain doesn't know that, so it treats every challenge, every failure, rejection, or uncertainty as a potential threat. And the more you focus on these threats, the stronger your negative thinking becomes. How negative thinking becomes an addiction. Every time you engage in negative thinking, your brain releases stress hormones, like cortisol, that keep you alert and reactive. And just like any addiction, the more you feed it, the harder it becomes to stop. Here's how it happens. A trigger appears. You make a mistake, face uncertainty, or feel judged. Your brain sounds the alarm. It immediately goes into survival mode, focusing on every possible negative outcome. You feel the emotional rush. Anxiety spikes. Doubt kicks in. You feel something. You reinforce the pattern. Your mind learns that negative thinking equals heightened awareness, so it keeps repeating the process. And just like that, negativity becomes your default mode. Not because you want to think this way, but because your brain has trained itself to seek out negativity as if it's necessary for survival. How to break free from negative thought loops? If you want to break the cycle, you must rewire your brain to detach from negativity instead of feeding it. Catch it in the act. The moment you feel yourself spiraling into a negative thought loop, stop and name it. Say to yourself, "This is my brain trying to protect me, not reality." The simple act of noticing it weakens its power. Interrupt the pattern. Instead of diving deeper into the thought, shift your focus. Move your body, take a deep breath, or say something out loud that disrupts the loop. The faster you break the momentum, the easier it becomes to regain control. Redirect your mind. Your brain is excellent at finding evidence for whatever you focus on. So train it to look for something new. Ask yourself, what else could be true? Instead of assuming the worst, find at least one alternative perspective. Moving forward, negative thinking is not who you are. It is just a mental pattern you've reinforced over time. And just like any habit, it can be broken. You don't have to keep living in a mental world of fear, doubt, and worst-case scenarios. You can train your brain to think differently, to stop seeing every challenge as a threat, to stop reacting from fear and start choosing clarity instead. Because once you break free from the addiction to negativity, something incredible happens. Your mind becomes a tool for growth instead of a weapon against yourself. And that's exactly what we'll strengthen next. Chapter 10. The silent influence of your environment. You think your mindset struggles come from within, that your lack of progress, your self-doubt, and your old habits are all because of something wrong inside you. But what if the real problem isn't you? What if the way you think, feel, and act is being shaped, without you even realizing it, by the people, places, and patterns that surround you every day? Because no matter how strong you think your mindset is, your environment is always influencing you. And if you're not actively shaping it, it's shaping you. How your environment is controlling you. Most people assume they are in full control of their thoughts and actions. But the truth is, much of what you do is not a conscious decision. It's a reaction to your surroundings. The way you think is influenced by the people you spend time with. The way you act is shaped by the habits that are easiest to follow in your space. The way you see yourself is reinforced by the expectations and behaviors around you. If you are surrounded by negativity, you will struggle to stay positive. If your environment is filled with distractions, you will struggle to focus. If the people around you doubt themselves, you will find yourself doubting too. It's not a matter of willpower. It's a matter of exposure. The hidden traps in your daily surroundings. Your environment is not just the physical space you live in. It's every external influence that affects your mindset. And if you're not careful, these influences can silently keep you stuck. Here's how. Your social circle reinforces your identity. The people you interact with the most shape your beliefs about yourself. If they are unmotivated, doubtful, or constantly complaining, those patterns will start to feel normal to you, even if you don't realize it. Your physical space determines your actions. If your environment is chaotic, cluttered, or filled with distractions, it will be much harder to maintain focus and discipline. The easier it is to engage in bad habits, the more likely you are to repeat them. Your daily inputs shape your thinking. The news you consume, the social media you scroll through, and the conversations you participate in all program your mind. If you are constantly feeding yourself negativity, you will naturally start thinking that way, even if you think you're just staying informed. How to reshape your environment for success. If you want to change your mindset, you must take control of the influences that shape it. Audit your social circle. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, online or in person. Do they inspire you or drain you? Do they challenge you or keep you comfortable? If the people around you don't align with the mindset you want to build, it's time to limit your exposure to them and seek out influences that do. Design your physical space for growth. Make it easy to engage in positive habits and hard to engage in negative ones. Want to read more? Leave a book on your nightstand. Want to reduce distractions? Remove them from your workspace. Your actions will always follow the path of least resistance, so shape your environment to support the habits you want. Control your mental diet. Be ruthless about what you consume. If it doesn't add to your growth, cut it out. Replace mindless scrolling with intentional learning. Unfollow accounts that make you feel worse about yourself. Surround yourself with content that reinforces the beliefs and mindset you want to cultivate. Moving forward, your environment is either working for you or against you. It is either making your mindset stronger or making it harder for you to grow. And now that you see this, you can no longer ignore it. You don't have to fight against your surroundings. You just have to shape them so that they naturally pull you toward the person you want to become. Because once your environment aligns with your growth, change stops feeling like a battle. It becomes effortless. And that's exactly what we'll build on next. Chapter 11. The subconscious scripts controlling your life. You wake up and follow your routine. You make decisions, react to situations, and move through your day as if you're in control. But what if most of what you do isn't actually your decision? What if your thoughts, actions, and even your emotions are being dictated by something deeper, an invisible script running in the background, shaping your every move? Because whether you realize it or not, you are operating under subconscious programming. And until you recognize the script that's been directing your life, you will keep repeating the same story over and over again. Where your mental scripts come from the moment you were born, your brain has been collecting data. Every experience, every conversation, every repeated phrase has shaped the way you see the world and yourself. When you were a child, you didn't question things. You absorbed them. If you were told, money is hard to make, you internalized it. If you heard, people like us don't succeed, it became part of your identity. If you were criticized every time you tried something new, you learned that risk equals rejection. These beliefs, often planted long before you were even aware of them, become the foundation of your subconscious mind. And once they are programmed, they don't just sit there. They run your life. Like an invisible operating system, they dictate what you expect from the world, what you believe you are capable of, and what kind of future you allow yourself to have. And because they operate below conscious thought, you don't even realize you're following them. You just keep playing out the same patterns, convinced that this is simply who you are. How your subconscious is controlling you every day. Your mind filters reality through the lens of your mental scripts. They influence how you react, how you interpret situations, and even what opportunities you notice. This is why some people seem to attract success effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly. It's not because one person is smarter or luckier. It's because their subconscious programming allows them to see different possibilities. If your script says, "I'm not the kind of person who succeeds," then when an opportunity arises, you won't even consider it as an option. If your script says, "People can't be trusted," then no matter how much love or support surrounds you, you will always keep your guard up. If your script says, "I always mess things up," then you will unconsciously sabotage yourself, just to prove that belief right. Your brain is always looking for proof that your mental script is true, and it will find it even if it has to distort reality to do so. Rewriting the program. If you want to change your mindset, you must go straight to the source. Identify the script. Pay attention to the beliefs that shape your thoughts. When you hesitate to take action, ask yourself, what belief is stopping me? If you feel unworthy of success, ask, where did I learn that? The moment you bring these subconscious scripts into awareness, they lose their grip on you. Challenge the narrative. Just because a belief has been with you for years doesn't mean it's true. If your mind tells you, "I'm bad at relationships," ask yourself, is that a fact or just a pattern I've repeated? If it's a pattern, it can be broken. If it's a belief, it can be rewritten. Install a new script. Once you identify and challenge an old belief, replace it with something new. Not an empty affirmation, but something grounded in action. If you've always told yourself, "I'm not confident," start reinforcing, "I am becoming someone who trusts themselves." Then, act in alignment with that belief, even in small ways. The subconscious mind is powerful, but it is also trainable. The more you repeat a new belief and back it up with real action, the faster your brain will adopt it as truth. Most people never do this work. They keep living the same script, convinced that their limitations are real, but they aren't. They are just a story, one that you no longer have to tell. Because the moment you decide to rewrite your script, your entire life begins to follow a different path. And that's exactly what you're going to experience next. Chapter 12. The power of emotional ownership. You've tried to change your thoughts. You've worked on your habits, rewritten your beliefs, and told yourself that a new mindset is the key to transformation. And yet, something still feels off. Because no matter how much you adjust your thinking, no matter how many strategies you apply, you keep getting pulled back into the same emotional cycles: frustration, fear, self-doubt, avoidance. That's because mindset isn't just about thoughts, it's about emotions. And until you learn to take full ownership of your emotions, you will always feel like you're fighting against yourself. Why your emotions keep controlling you: most people try to change their lives by focusing on actions and behaviors. They believe that if they can just do the right things, they will start to feel differently. But emotions don't work that way. Your emotions are the foundation of everything. They dictate what thoughts you entertain, what actions you take, and what beliefs you reinforce. If you don't deal with your emotions at their root, they will continue to shape your reality, no matter how much effort you put into changing your mindset. But here's the real problem. Most people don't own their emotions. They react to them. They suppress them. They blame them on external circumstances. They convince themselves that something outside of them needs to change in order for them to feel better. And as long as you believe that, you will always feel powerless. How you've been giving away your power: think about the last time you felt overwhelmed, frustrated, or stuck. Did you try to push the feeling away? Did you blame the situation for making you feel that way? Did you wait for something external to change before allowing yourself to feel better? This is what most people do. They treat emotions as something that happens to them, rather than something they can actively work with. But emotions are not your enemy. They are signals. And if you don't listen to them, if you keep resisting or avoiding them, they will keep showing up in stronger and more destructive ways. Avoided frustration turns into chronic stress. Avoided fear turns into long-term hesitation. Avoided disappointment turns into a belief that life will never change. The key is not to resist your emotions, but to take full ownership of them. How to master emotional ownership: if you want real transformation, you must stop treating emotions as something you are at the mercy of and start using them as a tool for growth. Feel it instead of fighting it. The moment you try to suppress an emotion, you give it more power. Instead, allow yourself to fully feel it. When frustration, doubt, or fear arises, don't push it away. Sit with it. Observe it. Let it move through you. Separate emotion from reality. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's a fact. If you feel like you're not good enough, that doesn't mean you aren't. If you feel like you're failing, that doesn't mean you are. Emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent truths. Decide what to do with it. Once you acknowledge the emotion and detach from it, you get to choose how to respond. Do you let it control you, or do you use it as a guide? If you're feeling resistance, does that mean you should stop, or does it mean you're growing? If you're feeling fear, does that mean something is wrong, or does it mean you're stepping into the unknown? Emotional ownership is the difference between reacting to life and leading your life. It's the shift from waiting for circumstances to align before you feel good, to deciding that you get to be in charge of your own internal state, no matter what happens around you. This is what separates people who stay stuck from those who truly evolve. Because the moment you stop letting emotions dictate your choices, you start making choices that shape the emotions you want to feel. And once you master that, everything changes. Now, it's time to take it even further. Chapter 13. The lie of fake it till you make it. You've heard it before. Just fake it till you make it. If you don't feel confident, act confident. If you don't feel successful, pretend you are. If you want to change, just fake the mindset of the person you want to become. But here's the problem. You can't fake something you don't believe in. And if you rely on faking it, all you're doing is reinforcing the idea that you are not enough as you are. Why pretending to be confident doesn't work? Most people misunderstand confidence. They think it comes from acting a certain way, holding eye contact, standing tall, speaking with authority. But confidence is not a performance. It is not something you put on. True confidence is the absence of self-doubt. It's the deep, unshakable belief that you are capable, regardless of the outcome. And that kind of belief cannot be faked. If you try to fake confidence without actually changing the way you see yourself, you'll feel like an imposter. Your body might be projecting confidence, but your mind will be questioning it the entire time. And that internal conflict will show. It will come through in the hesitation in your voice, the subtle doubt in your eyes, the forced energy that doesn't quite feel real. People don't respond to what you do. They respond to who you are beneath it. And if your confidence is fake, they will feel it, because you will feel it. The real key to confidence: internal alignment. Instead of faking confidence, you need to build it. Confidence isn't about pretending. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally feels secure in themselves. And that starts with internal alignment, when what you believe about yourself matches the way you show up in the world. If you tell yourself, "I am confident," but you don't believe it, your actions will feel forced. If you act successful but still feel unworthy inside, you will sabotage yourself. If you try to be fearless while secretly doubting every step, you will hesitate. The solution isn't to fake it. The solution is to align your thoughts, actions, and self-image so that confidence becomes the natural byproduct of who you are. How to build authentic confidence: if you want to stop faking it and start feeling it, you must shift from pretending to embodying. Start with small wins. Confidence isn't built by telling yourself you are capable. It's built by proving it to yourself. Set small, achievable challenges and follow through. Each time you do, you send a signal to your brain: I can trust myself. Own your truth instead of performing. True confidence isn't about impressing others. It's about being fully comfortable with yourself. Instead of trying to appear confident, ask yourself, how can I show up as my real self today? The more you embrace who you are, the less you feel the need to pretend. Detach from the outcome. The most confident people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who aren't afraid to fail. Stop tying your self-worth to success or perfection. Confidence isn't about always getting it right. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you will be okay. Confidence is not something you put on like a costume. It is something you become by consistently showing up for yourself, trusting yourself, and aligning your actions with the person you are ready to be. And the moment you stop pretending and start embodying that, you stop needing validation. You stop doubting yourself. You stop feeling like an imposter because you are no longer trying to convince yourself. You are that person now, and that's when everything changes. Chapter 14. The truth about discipline. You think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. You believe that the key to success is willpower, pushing through resistance and making yourself stay on track, even when you don't feel like it. That's what most people believe. And that's exactly why most people struggle to stay disciplined. Because real discipline isn't about forcing yourself. It's about aligning yourself. Why discipline feels so hard. When people struggle with discipline, they assume it's because they lack willpower. They tell themselves they need to try harder, be tougher, or push through their resistance. But discipline doesn't fail because of a lack of effort. It fails because of a misalignment between your actions and your internal identity. If you see yourself as someone who hates working out, every trip to the gym will feel like a battle. If you believe you're not a morning person, waking up early will feel impossible. If you identify as someone who struggles with consistency, every attempt at discipline will reinforce that belief. This is why willpower alone never works. You can force yourself to act differently for a short time, but if your identity doesn't change, the struggle will never stop. Because eventually, your mind will pull you back to what it believes is normal for you. The shift that makes discipline effortless. The key to lasting discipline is not about trying harder. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally does the things you want to do. Discipline becomes easy when your actions match your identity. A disciplined person doesn't force themselves to go to the gym. They see themselves as someone who values movement. A successful writer doesn't struggle to write every day. They see themselves as a person who creates. A confident speaker doesn't have to push through fear. They see themselves as someone who has something valuable to say. When your actions align with your identity, discipline stops feeling like a chore. It becomes second nature. How to align yourself with discipline. If you want to stop struggling with discipline, you must stop relying on willpower and start focusing on identity alignment. Change how you see yourself. Instead of saying, "I need to be more disciplined," shift to, "I am the kind of person who follows through." Every action you take should reinforce this identity. Even small wins, like waking up on time or completing a single task, strengthen this belief. Make it non-negotiable. The biggest mistake people make is treating discipline like an option. If you truly identify as someone who is consistent, showing up is not a choice. It's just who you are. The moment you stop debating whether to do something, you remove the struggle entirely. Make the process enjoyable. Most people quit because they associate discipline with suffering. But discipline doesn't have to feel miserable. If you want to build a habit, find ways to make it rewarding. Listen to music while working, track progress visually, celebrate small wins. The more enjoyable the process, the easier it becomes to stay consistent. Discipline is not about pushing yourself harder. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally does what needs to be done. Because once discipline is part of who you are, you no longer need motivation. You no longer need willpower. You just do it. And when that happens, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. Now it's time for the final shift. Chapter 15. The illusion of a fixed mindset. You've spent your life believing that at some point you will arrive. That one day you will finally have the mindset, confidence, and discipline you've been working toward. You assume that after enough effort, change will become permanent. That once you fix your mindset, it will stay that way. But that's the final illusion, because no mindset shift is ever final. Why mindset is never fixed? Most people believe that transformation is a destination. They imagine that once they overcome self-doubt, they will never struggle with it again. That once they build confidence, they will never feel insecure. That once they become disciplined, they will never face resistance. But this is not how change works. Your mindset is not something you fix. It is something you manage daily. Even the most confident people have moments of doubt. Even the most disciplined people face days where they don't feel like showing up. Even the most successful people question themselves. The difference: they don't identify with those moments. When resistance arises, they don't take it as a sign that they've failed. They expect it. They understand that growth is a process, not a final state. The trap of thinking you're done. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that once they've made progress, they don't have to maintain it. They assume that because they felt confident once, they will always feel that way. That because they overcame fear before, it will never return. That because they built discipline, they will never struggle with consistency again. Then, when doubt creeps back in, they panic. They think, "Why is this happening again? I thought I was past this." But just like physical strength fades without training, mindset weakens without reinforcement. You don't work on your mindset once. You work on it every day. How to sustain growth for life. If you want lasting transformation, you must stop seeing mindset as a switch that gets flipped once and start treating it as an ongoing process. Expect the struggle to return. Instead of being surprised when doubt, fear, or resistance shows up again, accept that they always will. The goal is not to eliminate these challenges. It's to build the ability to move through them faster each time. Make mindset work a daily practice. Just like physical health requires consistent exercise, mental resilience requires constant reinforcement. Whether it's reading, journaling, or reminding yourself of your core beliefs, mindset maintenance must be part of your routine. Redefine what it means to arrive. True transformation is not about never struggling again. It's about reaching a point where struggle no longer controls you. Growth isn't measured by never facing doubt. It's measured by how quickly you recover when you do. The truth is, there is no final version of you. You will always be evolving, and the moment you embrace that, the pressure disappears. You stop waiting to arrive and start living in the process. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new way of moving through life. Because now you know the secret. You were never stuck. You were just caught in an illusion, and now you are free.